Hi, I'm Noina Banerjee and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the brand new podcast series, Sikke to Swipe from FiCommerce. In this series, we'll unpack everything happening in the fast-paced world of payments, bringing you stories, insights, and real-world examples of how digital payments are transforming business today. Let's kick things off and discover how payments are shaping our future. I'm thrilled to introduce our first guest, Tina Singh, a senior leader with over 25 years in the Indian financial service industries, working with ICICI Bank, Mahindra Finance, and SMFG India Credit. She's been at the forefront of digital transformation. I'm excited to hear her insight on how payments and digital technologies are shaping the future. Welcome.
Thank you, Nana, and very happy to be here today.
Tina, you've been deeply involved in digital transformation over the years. How do you see the digital payments landscape evolving, especially for NBFCs and banks? And what's on the horizon that excites you?
So, Naina, I have been actually in digital, when the word digital was not even coined. So, it started very slowly. To give you an example, the one of the largest transactions that we used to be prepaid mobile recharge, because the mobile, industry was booming. Mobile usage and networks were becoming prevalent everywhere. So then, fund transfers and bill payments, and we used to just feel happy if we touched, 100,000 transactions a day. And today, things have completely changed. Everybody doesn't even think twice about doing a digital payment, from, buying bananas from a roadside stall with a QR code to actually, paying your income taxes online and doing fund transfers or remittances abroad. We don't even think twice about how it has become part of our life. E-commerce and Q-commerce are booming. From 2012-13, we saw about 162 crore transactions happened in that financial year. And now, 2023-24, we saw about 16,500 crore transactions which happened, almost like 120 times increase in digital transactions over the years. So the way I see, digital payments industry, it is here to stay,
Absolutely, Tina. So, what do you think are the key factors that are driving the rapid evolution of the digital payments ecosystem in India?
So I think the things that which are really going for us are, one, a large booming fintech industry, a lot of intermediaries, a lot of participants, startups which are actually pushing innovation and removing friction from the entire payments process. So that is one thing. The second thing is obviously regulator and the government efforts, wherein they are trying to digitize all data possible, which is our financial data, our identity data, so such that the entire ecosystem doesn't have any friction in it when we start doing multiple innovations in the payment side. And the third thing is the collaboration that I see in the financial services industry and the startups.
Tina, that brings me to my next question. As we look to the future, what trends do you think will really shape digital payments in India? Are there any exciting areas like corporate payments or SME payments or UPI that you see as a big opportunity?
So I think going forward, 2-3 things will be there to see. One is, UPI and the entire ecosystem will continue booming. We will have things like, very contextual payments, like, let's say, FASTag payments for tolls and parking, your prepaid cards for, food or other such purposes will continue growing. But the big one that we are yet to see, and I see, green shoots there, are the corporate payments. With the emergence of, CBDC, our central banking digital currency, and a lot of push from the government, you will see complete sea change in the entire supply chain ecosystem. So, your supplier payments, vendor payments, B2B payments, large corporate transactions, your global international transfers and remittances will grow in a big way. And the other one is the entire SME space. I think Today we have about 30 crore individuals who are using, their mobiles to make payments on a daily basis, and we have about 5 crore, merchants, big and small, today who are accepting digital payments. I think that area, the SME space, will see. It has already undergone a big change, but it continues to see a lot of innovation and push.
From your discussion, 2, 3 things I take out. One is obviously the SME, the payments in the SME sector that you talked about and how people are embracing. We already see that people are embracing. I mean, we go and buy a banana from a food cart. They're also giving you a QR code. There's no longer any cash transactions. Yes, everybody's trying to come together and to build the next big thing. And so, how do you think? And what are the technologies you think that's going to be a game changer, and how you think technologies can help, and how you see that partnership revolving and exploring more?
So, as far as the technologies are concerned, obviously there are two big ones, right? You have AI, and somewhere at the background you have the blockchain. We are seeing a lot of investment in data gathering, okay, and having structured data vis-a-vis unstructured data. And if you have both available, the capacity to actually store that data, to be able to massage that data and use that data. So even if we use analytics in a simple way, and I'll give you an example. When I was working with one of my previous companies, we used to see a lot of friction in basic P2P payments, right? Person to person payments. And then we realized that actually we were asking for too many fields and too much authentication and things like that. So just by looking at somebody's data, people have very regular kind of payments. You have a rent payment which is going to a landlord on a monthly basis, right? Then you have a school fees payment which is going. You have a monthly electricity bill or a gas bill which is going. So what we realized is actually of the transaction that a customer is doing, 90% of the transactions are repetitive. Actually, if we can just identify those repetitive transactions, we can completely remove friction from there. And if that basic analysis of the data really changed the game for us and improved our success rate and increased transactions also in a big way, because we were able to see patterns. Now, but when it comes to actually, let's say, your unstructured data, your day-to-day transaction, my transaction of buying bananas from a food stall on the road, or let's say buying a bottle of water at an airport. These transactions obviously don't have any pattern, because now with the more and more payments happening through digital modes, we are seeing a shift. We are seeing a shift of about 50 to 60% transactions being completely new transactions, and that is where AI and ML emerges technologies, right? So how do let's say I told you that we have 5 crore merchants who are accepting digital payments.
Correct.
How do I blue tick or whitelist these merchants, right? That these are the correct transactions which are there. There are 30 crore individuals who are making payments. How do I make sure that there is no money laundering which is happening in these transactions, or there is no fraud which is happening, nobody's bank account is being misused by a third party? So when you look at these kind of use cases, artificial intelligence actually becomes key. We have to train models to understand patterns at a very large scale, like at a millions of transactions level. Detect patterns and make sure that we learn from them, and we make our entire digital ecosystem safer and safer going forward.
Interesting. I mean, we all know that how data is helping, and lots of bigger NBFCs, they use data to a great extent to where they are as a company. But interestingly, a few days back, I read somewhere somebody mentioned, somebody has a very good credit record, just passed out from a went to big B schools, etc., etc. Lives in a tier 3 city, if I'm not mistaken. And he said that I've got a card, etc. And when I wanted to take that EMI and use that card, I was refused. Though I have already been given a card and it was not a free card. And why I was refused? I was refused because the address, the locality I stay is not credit worthy, because they have a lot of NPA coming from that locality. So because my address is that, they kind of refuse. So he kind of written to the people saying that you are doing great data crunching and you're giving me the thing, but don't just paint everybody black with the same brush. You need to go more deeper. So I think in digital lending, data is coming up, and I think payments is helping a lot. What about collections? Do you think that there's a lot of new tools which has come up, like UPI, AutoPay, eNACH, we have Aadhaar-based payments coming up. Do you think that are these really helping in streamlining collection?
I'll tell you a credit card example of this young, MBA graduate who started working. So when I started working, obviously, we got a credit card also. And, 20 years ago, we used to make a credit card repayment. I had to actually find an ATM and a drop box of the bank whose credit card it was, and I had to actually go and put a check in the drop box there. I used to invariably forget or be delayed or late at office. So we have two concepts in collections, right? Ability to pay and intent to pay, right? And here's a person who had the ability to pay, intent to pay, but wasn't able to pay. So what really the digital evolution and all these new kind of payment acceptance modes which have come, vis-a-vis that day, is that they have, wherever there is ability to pay and intent to pay, okay, the collections have become much better. So if you've done a good credit underwriting, your credit models are robust, then actually you don't have to worry, because wherever there's ability and intent to pay, people are paying. Because all these, from going to a regular website. Today I can go to any large payment app, and there are these I'll say, okay, I want to make a loan repayment, and a list of banks and NBFCs names will come. I'll put my loan account number and I can make a payment. I can go to the bank's website, or I can go to their app and make payment. So make UPI, debit cards, net banking. There's so many modes available as far as the urban customers is concerned. For rural customers also, like you said, that Aadhaar-based payments are there in a big way. Your biometric-based payments are there, micro ATMs, and more than that, UPI, I think, and has worked in a big way. So everybody who wants to pay can easily pay. One of the other things which has happened is with your UPI, AutoPay and eNACH coming in, we used to have in physical NACH a failure rate of about 20 to 30%. Okay, so we used to collect a physical NACH form, take the customer's signature, and one of the biggest reasons for NACH failure was signature mismatch.
Oh, that's completely gone now.
That's completely gone now. So now we have a success rate of almost 90+% when we are doing digital NACH registrations via either eNACH or UPI AutoPay. So that has changed things completely. So today, really, if you have to be bad in collections is not because of collection infrastructure. So things have changed completely. Otherwise, the cost of collection used to actually used to hurt our PNL such that we were not able to do small ticket loans, which we are able to do today, right? Because I had to have a certain cost of collection built in the business model. So business models have completely changed because of the impact on collection costs of these digital ecosystems.
So, I mean, digital payments has not only like helped the business with reducing the cost, it has also improved the customer experience, I think, in collection. As you said, that it's so easy now to make a payment, and if you forget, it's just a click of button. So I think that's really interesting. There's so many stories and so many, we've been working for so long. So there are so many, tell our, listeners something about, on digital payments, some success stories that you have seen and you've seen that made a lot of difference in your career or in your, a project you were leading.
On the digital side, one which is very close to my heart is wherein, when BBPS was launched, Bharat Bill Payment System was launched, I had some of my colleagues from the bank who were in NPCI. When they launched it, they had launched it only for utility payments. So I went to NPCI office and I met one of my colleagues, a very dear esteemed colleague, and I said, can you please give us BBPS for loan EMI repayments also? He said, Tina, wait for 2 years. And Naina, you won't believe it. After 2 years, I got a call from the same colleague who now worked at NPCI. He said, Tina, you asked us for this. This facility is live, and you're the second NBFC. If you go live now with this, you'll be the second NBFC to actually go live with BBPS as a collection mode or a repayment mode for your customers. So when I was, working for this NBFC, it worked in a rural ecosystem. 95% of the customers were rural customers. All the collections were taken in cash. Okay, very strong collections team. There wasn't any problem in cash collection as such, but obviously very high cost and high friction. Okay, so we launched BBPS for our customers, wherein now customers could go to any app, any payment app. Okay, so and they could just go and select the NBFC's name and put in their loan number and make a payment. You won't believe it. Everybody told me that rural India does not, and I'm talking 5-6 years ago, not today. That rural India will not change. Cash is their lifeline. They will make only cash payments. And the launch was so successful that today this NBFC is one of the largest. It is one of the topmost BBPS users, and NPCI has actually commended that that you have so much usage of this facility as far as your customers are concerned. So customers are repaying back online, and now almost like 40-50% of their transactions are coming online from let's say 60,000 villages. So which is a sea change as far as the rural India is concerned, and the adoption is amazing.
Correct. In rural India, I mean, I think they're really leading, and you go every corner. Everybody has a smartphone nowadays, and everybody is working, and every corner has a QR code and a UPI payment enabled. To wrap things up, looking ahead, what's one piece of advice you would give to financial institution looking to thrive in the evolving digital payment landscape? What should they focus on ideally to stay ahead of the curve?
Using all the facilities which are available to us, be it collaborating with the startup ecosystem. It doesn't matter. You do a small pilot, and I have done so many pilots with so many startups, and all those startups have today grown to be healthy, profitable organizations. So one should just always continue meeting startups and look at what new can be done, what small pilot I can do, which I can scale into a larger benefit for the organization. So that has to be done in a big way. The second thing is, make sure that you are looking at the entire, ecosystem which the government has built today. Every day new innovations are coming, be it from NPCI, RBI and other organizations, or UIDAI. Everybody is pushing and actually bringing in small changes on a daily basis, upgrades, and you have to make sure that you are constantly moving along with it. And lastly, the what I think is that um, push for data and analytics, push for using some of these newer technologies. It takes time. You have to first work a lot to refine the model, do a lot of testing. But I think data analytics and artificial intelligence is something that one cannot ignore anymore.
Tina, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Sikka to Swipe today. Your insights into digital transformation, payments, and collection have been incredibly valuable. As we wrap up this episode of Sikka to Swipe, I want to thank all our listeners for tuning in. I hope you find today's conversation with Tina insightful and inspiring, especially if you are navigating the ever-evolving world of digital payments and collections. We have got plenty more exciting topics and guests lined up, so be sure to join us next time as we continue to explore the future of payments. Until then, stay curious and keep innovating. Thank you.